everybody. Welcome. This is Evolve into Wholeness. It's Wednesday. This is Evolve Global 22's live stream. I'm Dr. Debbie. I am an intuitive healing health and wellness practitioner and educator, and I welcome you to this sacred, safe space. I am here on live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please join me and everyone who joins because it's just a place for us to unwind, learn, perhaps laugh some, and realign where healing meets real life. It's all about healing here, all about a sacred space, all about a safe place where there's no judgment. There's a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, and a lot of sharing of ideas. I come on and speak about various topics, and it's really, really laid back. I'm not trying to give a class here. I'm not trying to be super duper academic. It's just a place for us to get together. I have my tea. It's really cold here in Pennsylvania, and winter is upon us. And so I have my cup of herbal tea. This is Immune You from Evolve Global 22. You can get it on our website. I have the website listed in the chat, www.evolveglobal22usa.com. We have two tea blends. One is called Immune You, and one is called, what is it? It's called, I can't believe it just escapes me. Go to the website and check it out. It's really, Inflammese. That's the second one. So, like I said, this is our nightly live stream, a sacred space where we come to unwind, learn, laugh, realign, and where healing meets real life. Now, tonight is going to be interesting. It's Wednesday. And Wednesday, if you remember, is our Threads of Trinity, where we focus on creativity as medicine. I do crochet, I do knitting. It's very, very therapeutic for me. So in a minute, I'm going to start crocheting. I'm working on a couple of projects. It's cozy, it's casual. It's like chatting over a cup of tea. So grab a cup of tea or whatever you like to drink when you get a chance. Now, remember, Monday night is Mindful Moments in Micro Learning. We are exploring the science of the sacred, bridging global indigenous medicine systems and modern scientific principles. We did chapter 1 this week. I am working on a packet which I'm going to publish so that you have all of the summaries, all of the reflection questions and everything. There will be likely a small fee attached to that, few dollars, just to help me keep things going over here. But that will be available soon. And then Tuesdays are Healing in Real Life, where we focus on kind of like a story night. My story, your story, stories of clients, obviously with no names, healing lessons from the day. It's authentic, it's relatable, and it's emotional truth. We talk about small wins, struggles, physical, emotional, and spiritual healing moments. It all ties into the power of 3, which is energy medicine, Ayurveda medicine, and herbal medicine. Everything we do ties into the power of 3. Now, tonight, Threads of Trinity, we're going to get to that in a minute. Tomorrow night, Thursday, I want to give you a heads up on tomorrow night. Thursday nights are light talk and spirit flow. It's a lot of spirituality topics, intuition, surrender, meditations, faith-filled ideas. I do oracle card readings, which I am going to tell you, tonight before I came on, I was sitting here and I just get myself together, get myself centered. And I don't usually do an oracle card reading on a Wednesday night. Usually I do it basically on Thursday most of the time. But tonight we're going to do an oracle card reading. It's not tarot. It's not telling the future. It's purely guidance from the universe, from the elements of the universe that exist in realms that we are not a part of and that we can't see, or that we don't have a good understanding or the ability to truly understand them. So I was guided and called tonight to do a reading. I kept saying, no, I'm not going to do a reading. No, I'm not going to do a reading. You know, I kept saying, nah, I'm not going to do it tonight. I got a clear and loud message. Do the reading. So somebody out there needs a reading, and I'm going to do that. But as you know, before we do anything, before we start anything, we got to release, we got to get rid of the stuff from today. So remember how we start. It's a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And we do the motion with our hands because we want, when we release, we want to take everything and just push it away from us out into the universe. Okay? I'd always do a series of 3. There's no real significance to that other than that is just what I do. You can do many more. You can do a couple, whatever you do when you use this in your day-to-day. We do this every time because it centers us, grounds us, gets us kind of cleared out, helps us to be present and in the moment. So let's do this together. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Get rid of everything, all the emails, anxiety, pressures, conversations from the day. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and push it away. The 3rd time, in through the nose, and push it away. Now remember, when you do that, when you breathe in, your belly should pop out, not suck in. So you can do this little exercise anytime throughout your day. It's so helpful. It also gets oxygen to your brain, helps you to be more clear-minded and focused. So there we have it. And the second thing we always start our live streams with is our opening mantra. I'm going to say it. I'm going to pause in between each so you can say it after me. And this is the opening mantra: rise in light. I rise in truth. I breathe in healing. I walk in wholeness. I am perfectly imperfect, and I evolve through love, light, and purpose. Now, I didn't pause in between. Let's do it one more time. Rise in light. I rise in truth. I breathe in healing. I walk in wholeness. I am perfectly imperfect, and I evolve through love, light, and purpose. So now that we have gotten rid of our stuff, our junk for today, and we did our mantra, did our little breath work, now let's do the oracle card reading. Somebody out there, or somebody who's going to watch the video of this. Many people watch the videos after the fact. I know people have busy lives. Somebody needs to hear this. Now, this is a general reading, general guidance. If it applies to you, great. If it doesn't, then you just let it be and let it go by. Or I have many decks, but I generally work more so with this deck, which is the Moonology Manifestation deck. Very pretty deck. You can see, I love this deck. I'm going to start using all of my other decks because I do use them sometimes, not all the time. But this is the one I tend to favor. So The purpose of oracle card readings, and through my opinion and what I do, is simple guidance. Nothing happens by happenstance. Nothing happens in isolation of everything else. Everything happens for a reason. And the universe that was created by the one creator of all that is has many, many aspects of it that we cannot completely, truly understand. So when things happen, uh, what there's a meaning to it. Now, in our whoa, that just came right out. In our day to day, many of them, I had like 5 cards come out. Okay, so when that happens, that means there's a reason for that. So in our day to day, most of us are so busy that we're not tuned in. We're disconnected from our creator, the one creator of all the universe and everything in it. We're disconnected from ourselves, we're disconnected from others, and we're disconnected from the universe as a whole and how it functions and how it operates. And so we don't even realize, we don't even think about certain things. And I went many, many years where that was my reality. Now I don't do that anymore. Now tonight, this is interesting. Tonight, okay, so I have one card that just popped right out, and I have 5 other cards that also popped right out. So what I'm going to do with the 5, I'm going to pull 2 cards, and I put the 5 here beside me, and I'm going to just choose one. Again, nothing happens by happenstance. So we're going to have 2 cards in this reading tonight because that's what came to us. Now, once again, this is a general reading. This is not tarot. This is not telling the future. It's simply guidance and to give us insight. So what we got was full moon in Pisces. Look at that beautiful card. Look at all those wonderful colors. Color therapy. Oh my goodness, get me started on that. We're going to talk in the future about colors and color therapy. So there we go. So now I get my little book because I can't memorize all these little books. Full moon in Pisces. Forgive. So let's go find the explanation. Full moon in Pisces. So let's see what our message is. Full moon in Pisces, forgive. Be careful that you're not coming at your current situation with your mind made up. This card is a reminder that life is an unfolding mystery and you need to go with it. Instead of trying too hard to tick every box for your dreams to come true, fall into the dreams a little. It could well be that what's blocking your current manifestation is that you haven't forgiven yourself or someone else for something that happened in the past. To boost your manifesting powers, forgive yourself and anyone else who needs forgiveness. So that's, oh my goodness, this is interesting. I actually had somebody reach out to me that I haven't heard from for a while. And I never name people, never would do that. That's unethical, that's immoral, that's just wrong. But this person is somebody quite a bit younger than me, had a very difficult time, many challenges. And it took her some time to come around. Well, she reached out to me today after I haven't heard from her in some time. And she reached out to me, and there were some things in the past that didn't go the way they should have. Not that I held it against her. I don't hold anything against anybody. But she reached out to me today, and the first thing that she said to me was, my life is a lot better now. I'm making better choices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to ask your forgiveness for some of the mistakes that I made that impacted you. And I just thought that was obviously I'm so happy for her. But now we get a card about forgiveness. Now, if this resonates with you in some way, then that's awesome. The next card that of the 5 that jumped out that I chose was Full Moon in Aries, Cool Your Emotions. So we have 2 cards tonight. Let's see the message of this one, Full Moon in Aries. Cool your emotions. Are you in the middle of an argument or perhaps in the mood to pick an argument? Surely not. Or are you being overly forward? This is a time of heated emotions and frayed tempers. Anger is better than despair, as Abraham Hicks taught us, because anger spurs us on to do something, but you may get better results if you master your emotions. Certainly avoid stirring the pot or it could boil over. Cooling your emotions and being the peacemaker means you'll attract a more peaceful outcome. Seek a balance between you, and me, and me. So if that resonates for you, great. Anybody else who sees this, because when I put this online, it shows up on people's pages and nothing comes to you for no reason. So I did what I was supposed to do. Now let's talk about our creative moments. And I want to talk a little bit more about my friend who contacted me today. See this beautiful, this is a meditation blanket, meditation therapeutic blanket that I'm making. The colors I'm making, everything has a reason. The color has a reason. The colors have meaning. The texture for tactile has a reason. So I'm going to start crocheting. What are you doing? Put it in the chat. Now, if you're coming to me from Facebook, I cannot respond or comment to the chats. I will get to them later. I look to see if there are any chats or anything from Facebook. But if you're on YouTube, I believe I can not only see the chats if you come in, but I can also respond. So what do? Put in the chat, say a little bit about what you do to keep your creative juices flowing. And then let's think about this. How does it work that it's therapeutic for you? You know, I'll tell you how I learned how to crochet and knit. I learned from my Aunt Minnie, and she always had crocheting and knitting with her wherever she went. And I was a kid, and I grew up and got busy and went on about my life, and I kind of put knitting and crocheting to the wayside. Didn't do it for years and years and years. Well, guess what? When I got back into when I started my journey, now seriously, I was well beyond being a kid. It was about a decade ago. And when I started my journey, suddenly, my journey to healing, health, and wellness, suddenly I wanted to pick up knitting or crocheting again. And I started little by little. I didn't start real heavy, but then it grew over time. So now I don't think there's a day that goes by that I'm not crocheting or knitting something. Another thing that I do that is creative and therapeutic is I write. What's it's not it's a specific spoken word poetry. And sometimes I put it to music. Sometimes I just do the spoken word. But yeah, I like to play with words, and I like to write. So I do that. And then now, after I started being a content creator and I'm promoting my own business and doing all my own social media, I really like to create videos. It's very, very, very time consuming, but I love it. So creativity is a way it's very therapeutic, and it's something that triggers a portion of your brain that otherwise will not be triggered. So if you're, think of it this way, if you're always in, excuse me, if you're always in your analytical thinking mind, then everything is, as it is. You don't question it necessarily, unless you're, studying or researching or trying to find out about something. It's very, 1+1=2 kind of stuff. But when you get into the creative process in your creative brain, it doesn't work like that. I'll tell you, I oftentimes start with an idea, let's say for a meditation therapy blanket. And I'm going to do, I have the whole plan in my head. I have what I'm going to do and the colors and the textures and the stitches and all of that is like, ready to go. And I'm going to do it this way. Well, I get about 5 rows in, 10 rows in, 20 rows in. And all of a sudden I'm like, I think I'm going to change this, or I'm going to do this. So I could be midway through in the creation of one of my meditation therapy blankets, and I switch my whole plan to the point where I've had a scarf become a blanket become a scarf. I mean, or anything. It's just incredible. So your mind works differently, and you kind of go with the flow or with the moment, which is really a beautiful thing, because you're not confined, right? You're not, you're not, it has to be this way, it has to be that way, it has to be the other way. You can be creative in the moment and come out with something more beautiful than you ever thought that you would have, than when you started. So that's why I like, I think creativity and creative things, whether it be music, whether it be painting, whatever it may be, is very, very therapeutic. I think that it's good for the body, the mind, the soul, and the spirit. And it's very good for our emotional well-being as well. Now, a funny story. I was watching all of these, TikTok videos, because I monitor social media to see what's out there, what's going on, what people are doing. And this lady came on and she did a whole TikTok video about start crocheting, they say. Learn to crochet, they say. It's very therapeutic. And she said, so I did. And when I did, it wasn't therapeutic at all for me. I was so upset and so angry. And I used a few choice words because I just couldn't get it. I couldn't do it right. Therein lies the issue. I couldn't do it right. Now, granted, if you're going to start out a creative project and you're going to have the mindset of how is this, how to do this the right way, then, and you want, let's say you've never crocheted or knitted before, and you want to be able to follow a pattern for, let's say, a sweater, which a sweater is, a sweater can be difficult to do for somebody who's never crocheted, right? So you're trying to logically follow the pattern and do the number and do the counts of the stitches and the rows and the turns and whatever you have to do. You've just killed your whole creative process. So the better, there is no right or wrong way when you're talking about simple crochet. I mean, blankets, scarves, things that, when you're beginning to crochet that you usually start out with, it's the same stitch, row after row after row in the same direction, and then you turn at the end. So you learn one simple stitch and you just keep repeating it. And then when you master that and you want to get creative, maybe you add another next simple stitch to make it stand out, or maybe you change the color. Those kinds of things are simple. And yeah, you have to know how to do it and you have to learn how to do it, and you can learn from YouTube videos or whatever. But to go into any creative project with the idea of what's right and what's wrong, you just killed your entire creative process. And if you let yourself, if you let it flow and you just play around with it, over time, you're going to learn. And over time, you're going to build your ability to be creative in whatever you do. It's like taking, I mean, if I were to paint, I'm not technically, I'm not an artist. I'm not a painter. But if I had paints and a canvas, I could create something. Now, would it be something that would be, equivalent to Picasso? Absolutely not. But I'm not trying to be Picasso. I'm not trying to be a perfect professional crocheter, or I'm not trying to do that. I'm learning basics, and I know the foundations. And yes, I have crocheted and knitted before, and I was taught as a child, but I use what I know and I build from there so that I can create. And I can create something now because I do have the foundation. I can create something that is purposeful and that is helpful. In these meditation therapy blankets that I create, the colors, that's therapy. The texture, that's therapy, meaning in texture and being able to be comforted, or lessen anxiety. There's certain stitches that you can fiddle with them, and you fiddle with the texture, with the texture and the different stitches, and it's relaxing. So, I'm not the number one most professional, perfect crocheter and knitter in the world, but I'm able to create this because I learned a little bit. I had the foundation, and I keep my flow enough, open enough, and I don't think about it being right and wrong, and doing it perfectly, so that I can continue to create and build kind of that muscle in my brain, and feel that therapeutic effect. If I'm thinking about being right and wrong, it's going to become something that produces more anxiety, more stress, as this lady in the TikTok video that I watched expressed. But if I'm just going with the flow, being creative, if I make a mistake, I can take it out and I do it over again. No problem. Or if I look at the colors and I keep working with the colors, it's very therapeutic, because I am not concerned at all about right and wrong. I'm concerned about how this feels, how this looks, how the colors are put together, how I can put them together to have meaning and purpose, and create a therapeutic effect for others. Um, Even sometimes in crochet, the edges can become uneven. That's sometimes creates a little bit of an issue, but I've overcome that as well, just by simply maybe learning another technique, or doing a border or doing something. But again, I don't let it create stress and anxiety because it's still not wrong. It's just that I want it to be as straight as possible, or I want, to do a certain stitch, and that's fine. But creativity is therapeutic, and it builds a part of you that will otherwise not be strengthened. And how does this translate into our daily lives and our healing? Well, if you have something that you like to create, whatever it is, it could be gift baskets, it could be sewing, it could be cooking. Cooking is a creative process. It can be anything that you want it to be, where you have to make something, right? Mine is crochet and knitting. It could be so many things, painting, any form of art. When you take a moment out of your day and you just sit with yourself and engage with your own creative abilities and your own creative self, you begin to learn things about yourself that perhaps you hadn't noticed before, or known before, or realized before. And then the deep sense of just peace and relaxation when you are creating. The deep sense of just peace. So it's almost undescribable to me. And if you have experienced this when you do your creative projects, or when you engage in whatever you create, type in the chat. Tell us what you create and tell us how it makes you feel. And also, another reason I think that this is another benefit is that in your day-to-day, if you take a moment in the evening or when, depending on what you're doing, but take a moment and engage. Some people make jewelry, some people do a lot of different things. If you take a moment to engage, you are releasing a beautiful part of yourself into another object. Now, into another thing. You're creating another thing. So, for example, let's talk about energy and talk about my meditation and therapy blankets. Also, anything that I create, all of the products that I create. So energy is in everything. We've been over that, and I've talked a lot about that. And when I am creating, I'm in a sense of peace, in joy, in love. And then I also do affirmations. Sometimes, not every time that I actually sit down to work on the blanket, but I do the affirmations over the blanket as I'm creating it at different times. So with all of that, what do you think happens when somebody purchases one of my blankets? It's already infused with very high frequencies of energy. It's been touched by another human being that cares about you, despite the fact that I may not personally know the person that bought the blanket, right? But it's made out of love. It's made out of care. It's made with the intention and purpose of helping another human being. That is something that when you sit down to, when you purchase a blanket, and this goes for when you create your own things, and if you were to share them with other people, when another person sits down with, in this case, one of my blankets, most of the time, and I've never had anybody tell me different, and I never say every single time because there's factors that I don't control. But most of the time, people say it brings me peace, it brings me joy, I just feel good. It just helps me to center myself, helps me to focus, etc., etc. Now, that's very different than a blanket, which I would call a dead blanket, coming from the store, that's produced in the hundreds of thousands and produced on a machine, and just mass produced and shipped out in this truck to this direction, shipped out over here, thrown off the truck, thrown in the store, and the sole purpose is to sell hundreds of thousands of them, so the company that owns them become very, very wealthy. Do you see the difference? So I encourage I encourage everyone to engage in some form of creative expression. Could be dance, it could be whatever it is. Engage in some form of creative expression with the intent purpose of it being one of the tools that helps you through your healing journey and to continue to heal throughout your life. And that is really the why behind why I knit and crochet, and why I do spoken word poems. And I do like to cook as well, although I only do that. I have to be in the mood to do that. And only certain, I'm very, I can do regular family style stuff, but I mean, cooking is not my thing that I really want to always engage in. I have to be in the mood for creative cooking. But otherwise, when it comes to the crochet, yeah, it's really, really something that I think is very beneficial. Also, kids, teach your kids to crochet, which leads me, and I don't have this up on my website yet, which leads me to a big announcement is coming. I've left little announcements here this week because I'm finalizing the details of this. But as most of you know, I do all of my work helping other people heal online via Zoom, because energy does not have any boundaries. And now in this day and age, you can achieve just about anything by interacting on Zoom. But I was guided, and a very wonderful healer came into my lane recently. She has a physical location, and I am going to be sharing a portion of that physical location. So Evolve Global 22 is going to have an on-ground location for the Healing Light Studio soon, likely in early December. And so we are going to be able to offer on-ground services for and hybrid models of service for people in the Malvern, Pennsylvania, and surrounding areas. I am so excited, and I can't wait, which leads me, the reason why I'm telling you this again now is first because I want you to know. But second, I have the foundation of our programming and services for adults, but I have programs that are going to come for children. And I haven't gotten them up yet, but it is coming. One that crocheting. Kids love to do things like this. So, yeah, if you have children, help them get engaged in the creative process. And even better yet, help them to get engaged with the creative process in some way based upon their interests or whatever with you. That's even better. So, you know, I think it's very important to our healing. And then just know that the benefits are I mean, you can't even count them. If you're talking about color therapy, you're talking about sound therapy, if you're talking about sound and music and frequencies. So yeah, it's really, really something that I think is extremely beneficial. So what else is going on? Okay, so I went off a little tangent here on creativity, which I always do. But yeah, so let's talk about forgiveness. I'm keep going back to my friend that reached out to me today, and she asked for my forgiveness for some things, and which it was granted. I never keep. If somebody asks for my forgiveness for something, I never ever withhold, no matter what, no matter what. Because holding on, this is something that's important. Holding on to ill feelings of any kind is harmful to you and to people that come in contact with you. So the people who are usually closest to you and in your sphere, or in your circle, so to speak. Yeah, I've even gotten to the point where I forgive, even if somebody doesn't ask me for forgiveness, I forgive them for my own sake, because I don't want to hold any ill feelings. And that's important to healing. Holding negative, low-lying frequencies of feelings is just something that is going to be a roadblock to your healing, health, and wellness. And the question that I get asked the most when it comes to this subject is, how can you forgive? Especially when it comes to things that are really, really, really difficult. And my response to that is always, you forgive for your own sake, not for the sake of the person who did you wrong. And when you put it in that perspective, it changes the why for you, and it changes your intention. So the why becomes about you, not the other person, not the person who did you wrong. And the intention is for your own healing. The intention and the purpose is for your own healing. So it really has nothing to do with the person who did you wrong. It really doesn't. Now, I'm not saying you don't want to, be nasty or ill-willed toward that person either, because then you really haven't, forgiven. You haven't let it go. You haven't really forgiven them. But it's much easier to do when you put it in that context. Now, that's one. The next thing is if you have a connected, if you are connected with the creator of all of it, all that is, which is our creator, the one creator of the entire universe, and you are connected with yourself, and you are connected with others and connected with the universe as a whole, meaning you're in alignment with everything. It's then when it comes to taking a step like this and forgiving somebody for something, it's much easier to do, because in all reality, if all of us looked at our lives and the mistakes that we have made, we've had to ask for forgiveness. We've done things, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally. And when you talk about your creator, the one creator of all that is, which is God, if God can forgive people for the most horrific things, and he is the most merciful, then who am I to withhold forgiveness from anybody because I needed forgiveness from either my creator and or other people. So when you put it in that perspective, it really makes it a lot easier to find the forgiveness in your heart. It's a state of the heart also. Find a way from your heart to forgive that person. So, and once again, forgiveness is forgiveness is necessary for healing. A person cannot truly heal unless they can forgive and get beyond whatever hurt them, whatever trauma they experienced. For example, because when somebody asks your forgiveness, they've obviously done something toward you that is not nice or that's damaging. And if you cannot forgive somebody, then you're holding that. And when you hold things that are troubling to you, when you hold negativity, when you hold things that have been traumatic or hurtful to you, and you can't move beyond them, then what happens is it impacts every aspect of your being and every aspect of your life. And it impacts it in such a way that's negative, because negative begets negative, right? You can't take, two negatives and get a positive out of it. It doesn't work that way. Negative begets negative. So, forgiveness is something that is critical. Being able to forgive is something that is critical to your own healing. And listen, I'm not saying that it's easy. I can tell you, most of us did not have an ideal family or childhood. Some people were lucky enough too, right? Some people did. But more than not, we all have things in our family, in our childhood that just, were not that great. And many of our families, they did the best they could. It's not that it was intentional, but they did the best they could. But nevertheless, it still was not right. Things were not ideal, I guess is the better word. So if you grow up and you have scars from growing up in the family that you grew up in, and that your family usually they're not going to ask for your forgiveness because they don't think that they've done anything hurtful to you, or they feel right about whatever it was that happened. So what do? You have somebody or some people or some, uh, who happen to be family, which is a whole nother thing. We don't, family is, you can't just, turn your back and say, no, we're not family. They're family. But if somebody is not going to ask for your forgiveness, where's the power lie to give forgiveness? You can't force somebody to do something that they don't want to do or that they don't see that they should do, right? So you don't have any control over that. But what do you have control over? You have control over you, right? So if you have control over you, then it's your choice what you do. You're not being pushed. You're not being coerced. You're not, it's your choice. And that means that the control is in your hands. So when somebody doesn't ask you for your forgiveness, and it happens to be a close person, they don't ask for your forgiveness. If you grant forgiveness without even being asked for your own simple well-being, that frees you. And just knowing that, and knowing that you hold that kind of power and that kind of control, that should be, or that can be, freeing. And it's something that we really need to consider and think about. Now, if this resonates with you, and most of us can look back in our lives and find things, and this will resonate. If it resonates with you, think about it, reflect upon it. And if you have unresolved baggage, so to speak, and you have not granted forgiveness, and you want to free yourself, try it. And try it from the heart. Now, let me say this. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you completely forget and you don't protect yourself. Let me say that again. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you completely forget and you don't protect yourself. You always want to protect yourself, and you always want to learn from that lesson so you don't forget. You're just not holding it anymore. There's a difference. You're not holding it anymore. You're letting it go, and you're not holding ill feelings toward that person. That doesn't mean that if that person continues to do whatever they did, to other people or whatever, or given the chance would do it again to you, that you allow that to happen. No, that's not what that means. You protect yourself. Maybe you need to be a little distant, even with family. Maybe you need to take a break and not interact with that person for some time. Maybe you keep a safe distance. Maybe with your family, if it's family, maybe instead of staying in the same town, maybe you decide to move to another town or another state, but you still do the right thing. You still ask about your family, especially your parents or whomever. You still remain, positive, but you don't allow that close interaction or that whatever it is to impact you anymore. So you, and because you can't control what the other person does or people, you create a distance so that that's what you control. So you control, what the interactions will be. Does that make sense? So you're not, I'm not saying that you forgive and forget. You don't forget, but you only remember for your own self-preservation and for your own protection. You're not not forgetting because you have ill will. I have people, for example, and by the way, this took me a long time. I'm no different than anybody else, and we all have our issues, and there's some things that we have in our lives that are hard to get, that are hard to forgive. And it takes time. It takes a long time sometimes. But I'll tell you, when I did forgive the people that I needed to forgive, or the person, I felt relief. I just didn't hold it anymore. And I moved beyond it. So just think about that within the context of your daily lives. And perhaps in the comment, if you're listening to this via video, or now if you're listening to it live in the chat, throw out there or express, how you felt if you when you have forgiven. Most of us have at least forgiven somebody. How did it make you feel when you actually forgave a person? How did it make you feel when you actually forgave a person? I can tell you how it made me feel. It made me feel liberated. I felt like a 100-pound, cement block was lifted off of the top of my head. I felt the weight of those lower frequency energies just kind of lifted right off of my being. So I felt that it was liberating. Also, the second thing I think that was significant to me is I no longer wasted my time and my energy thinking about the past, because I forgave and I let it go. So there was no reason to revisit the past, not in my head by myself or not in a discussion with anybody else. There was no reason to. So it helped me to not fall back into the past and living there, as opposed to living in the now and trying to move forward. So I don't know how we got on the topic of forgiveness, but yeah, it's important. And obviously somebody needed to hear this tonight. And I hope that you found this beneficial. And even if it doesn't necessarily, if our topics of conversation don't necessarily apply 100% to you, how about you think about a friend, a sister, a brother, another human being, and maybe they need to hear some of this, and they need to consider some of what we've spoken about tonight. You can share the video once it goes up after the live stream. You can talk to them yourself. It's totally up to you, but I would guess, probably pretty accurately, that most people can relate in some way. And I think that sometimes the reason why this came up tonight, I think, is because sometimes we forget And sometimes we get caught up in everything and we forget, and we can't forget things like this because we harm ourselves. We harm ourselves when we get all caught up and we just continue perpetuating trauma on ourselves and other people, because that's really what it is. It's really what it is. When you hold ill feelings, low frequencies within you, you're inflicting trauma on your body, your mind, your soul, and your spirit. And when it is reflected outward, then it's on somebody else, right? Not only yourself. Think about that. Don't we live with enough trauma? I feel that we live with enough trauma. Like, why do every day we're facing stuff. I don't need to add to the stuff, right? But if you think about that, that is what is happening in the case of us withholding forgiveness and not being willing to forgive. So yeah, that's always a good topic to talk about. Now let's get back to our creativity. What time is it? Oh my goodness, it's 9:02. Okay, so we all have stuff to do tomorrow. I'm sure some of us are going to be going to bed soon. So once I get crocheting and I get in the creative mode, and then of course I'm speaking to you, or speaking with you, I lose track of time. So tonight, Wednesday, all about creativity and it being therapeutic. We talked about forgiveness. We talked about what's coming for Evolve Global 22. We talked about the colors in the blankets that I use, the colors in the therapeutics. That color has therapeutic qualities. The texture. What else did we talk about? We talked about some good things tonight, but we talked about how creativity impacts the way we think. When we leave our analytical mind, things aren't always just right and wrong, so you just let your creative juices flow, so to speak. So we covered a lot. Nice conversation. So every live stream, we end with our closing mantra. I also want to express my gratitude for everyone who comes to the live stream and sits with me and chats with me. I'm hoping that one day people will want to come on and actually be in the live stream so that we can have conversations. Excuse me. If you are interested in doing that, I am more than willing to accommodate. Just reach out to me. It's drdebbie at evolveglobal22usa.com. And just tell me I want to be a part of Evolve into Wholeness. And we will have a chat about that. So let's do our closing mantra. It's getting late. So repeat after me. I'm going to leave some time in between. I won't forget this time like I did with the opening. I honor my journey I release what no longer serves me. I am energy. I am light. I am love. Together we heal. Together we evolve. One more time. The closing mantra. I honor my journey. I release what no longer serves me. I am energy. I am light. I am love. Together we heal. Together we evolve. So that's it for tonight, folks. My friends, remember we did the oracle card reading. If it resonates, think about it. You don't always know that it resonates right away. In your day-to-day, keep in mind the reading, and then sometimes something will make sense later. But you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. I send endless, endless, endless love, peace, and light to you. And I will see you tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care and stay safe.